Hello readers, I'm Amy, here to talk about the 10,000 Doors of January. Sorry if this is like super distractingly shiny, it is a library book, it has to go back today. Wish I could have done this review a little bit sooner, but hey, life's busy. Anyways, the 10,000 Doors of January is a very, very, very popular and very well-loved portal fantasy. I believe this came out last year. Yeah, last year, 2019. Managed to get my hands on a copy, and I have some thoughts. I have a lot of them, actually. And first off, I will say I get it. I get why this book is so well loved. I get why it's so popular. I get it. And I did enjoy it, while I also did not enjoy it. So this book is about January Scholar. Starts off where she's just walking through a field and she comes across this door. And she knows that something is different about this door, so she goes through it. And she sees this other world that she really loves. She's just there for like a minute whenever she hears someone call her name. So she's like, oh, I should probably go back to my own world. So she does. And then she really is not happy with her life. And she grows up a little bit and she's still not happy with her life. She wishes she could go to another world. A couple years pass. She's still not happy with her life. She wishes she could go to another world. A couple years pass. She's still not happy with her life. Do you get what I'm saying here? The whole first half of the book is her hating her life as she grows up and wishing she could be elsewhere. And nothing's really going on. So this book is advertised as a portal fantasy. And there are portals to other worlds mentioned throughout this book, and we get to see some of them. But the first half of the book is such a slow burn. I really slogged through it. And it's only a 14-day loan, so I'm thinking, am I going to have to put myself on hold for the audiobook and wait another 6 months to finish this because I can't get through it right now? Which by the time I hit about halfway through the book, it started to pick up. I managed to finish it, I think like a day or two ago. I have to return it to the library today, like I said. But it did eventually pick up. It got to its point. The plot really got started. And I feel like the first half is probably more about establishing characters than anything else. But there are ways to establish characters that can still pick up the pace a little bit. And I tried to look into how this book is being sold, which it looks like it's supposed to be an adult fantasy. Because of the topic. I don't usually think that just because it features a young adult, just because a young adult is the main character, that doesn't mean that it's a young adult book. But while the book is advertised as adult, and I would say the writing style is more adult, the way that the story about this young adult goes about, it feels like a young adult book. I guess really that's just me saying that really anyone could read this and probably enjoy it. The writing was very, very beautiful. But my point was, gone off on a little tangent. The book was slow. The characters could have been developed better. There was one character specifically, Samuel, who she grows up with as a child and then is forced to distance herself from, but we miss all of that growing up in her childhood. We miss out on a lot of Samuel's character, and then by the time he becomes a bigger part of the book, I'm like, I don't even know who this guy is. So there were aspects that could have been done a little bit better. I do like the celebration of stories throughout this book. It's very much celebrating stories throughout the book. We get excerpts from a story that was written by one of the characters. It's this book that our main character January is reading throughout the book. Usually I don't love book excerpts in a book, but the story in the book that she's reading was interesting enough that it's kind of what kept me going, because the rest of the story in the actual book wasn't quite interesting enough at that point. But the book is discussed as a portal on its own, so it's not actually a portal. Like, she doesn't open the book and go off into another world, but it's talking about how reading books can help us escape the lives that we're living, how books are seen as escapist, how fantasy is a way to get out of our lives. So I did really love that aspect of it. There is a lot of discussion of gender and particularly race in this book. Our protagonist is a person of color. A lot of the characters are people of color. There's a lot of discussions of how race plays out in a world filled with a lot of white people. There's discussion of race in some of the other worlds and how they look different. And a lot of times January is talking about how she doesn't really feel like she fits into her own world. She's always this kind of other. So that was a good discussion to see. Hey guys, popping back in here for 1 second. Forgot to include something. I knew I would. I always forget something. This book does need a trigger warning for cutting. I haven't seen anyone refer to that trigger warning yet, which is kind of concerning, but there is cutting in this book. It is not for the purpose of self-harm, but it does happen, and at the end of the book, someone does try to kind of make a joke out of it, so just beware of that. The rest of this review, I'm gonna go ahead and put up my little spoiler warning. They're not heavy spoilers. I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens, but I do want to discuss some kind of tropey things and the way the ending was written. I won't tell you what happened in the end, but the spoiler section is going to be kind of the way the ending was written and why it didn't work for me. So, starting now, going into very mild trope discussion spoilers. So as for the end of the book, I didn't like it. This is one of those endings where, oh, the book's come to an end. Cool. And then the author's like, but wait, there's more. And then you read that chapter. Okay, cool. The book's over. But wait, there's still more. All right. I guess we're done now. But wait up. I have one more thing to say. And then she tops the whole thing off with an epilogue. And historically, I find epilogues tend to be a really, really terrible idea. For example, Harry Potter, that epilogue was a terrible idea. That was a terrible way to end the book. It was unnecessary. And in this book, the epilogue was unnecessary. As for the quick kind of spoiler discussion on tropes, I will say a really unpopular trope for me, as well as many other people, is the resurrection trope. While there's not necessarily literal resurrection, there was kind of, oh, I assume this character's gone, and then they weren't really. And again, with the way the book was ending and how she kept adding another ending to the story, it felt like a resurrection trope. And it's just one of those things where I'm like, authors, you gotta stop being afraid to kill your characters. It's okay if some of the main characters die. That's what gets us emotionally invested in a book. That's what makes the story memorable. And I felt like the author was really just not willing to go there. And if she'd been willing to go there, I think I would have enjoyed this book a lot more than I ended up enjoying it. But in spite of all of these criticisms, somehow I still really enjoyed it. Like I said, it was slow, so I didn't enjoy it until like the second half, but I appreciated what the author was trying to tell us about stories. I appreciated the world that she was trying to build. I am curious about further works that this author decides to write. I will certainly explore her more. I just think you've got a ways to go in your writing. You'll get there, but you're not there yet. I see why this book's popular, but for me it was, I think I gave it a 4-star on Goodreads, but really for me it was about a 3.5, but 3 stars didn't quite sit right with me, so I went ahead and gave it a 4. But Anyways, that's what I have to say about this book. Mixed feelings, but overall, I'd say I would enjoy it. I did enjoy it. Yeah, that's it for me. So please like, subscribe, be my friend or my enemy if you want to on social media. I post every Wednesday, Sunday, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, friends.